Salutations to thee, and welcome to another episode of Paths We Took, brought to you today by our sponsor, Offit.com. Head on over to their website, where you can partake in the purchasing of consumerism-driven anti-masturbatory products, built to defy the very institution that makes you want to masturbate in the first place. They have tremendous products such as the anti-masturbation cross, cayenne pepper sauce, pictures of ugly people, and for you special ugly people, mirrors. If you head on over in a brief moment, you will be able to apply a 10% discount to utilize at your own discretion, good sir. And from there, you can enjoy not masturbating. Welcome back, everyone. This week I have my good friend, Kostan Banos on the show. It's been Kostan's lifelong dream to save the environment. And, I wanted to give him a chance to come on and be heard. Unlike all the other people that want to save the environment. Nah, man. Fuck. God damn it. I'm going to get there with his intros, I swear. Yeah, Kostan's really into the environment, or... You know what? I thought Kostan was more into the environment until we did the podcast, and now I feel like he's more of just an everyday person than before. So I guess his podcast is helping me realize things that I want everyone to realize that I thought I already knew with regards to, like, the demystification of certain people and their professions. But yeah, Kostan came on, gave us an account of the education he went through to be in a position where he can work on things that help make humans more sustainable and help prevent climate change. We went through some science that's involved with climate change and some science that may be involved if you take a position in climate change. There's a lot about climate change, and we ended up talking about history as well, which is, I don't know, we keep going into history on this podcast, and I don't have a fucking history degree. I took history in school, and that's about it, but fuck it, man, we're giving it a good old true blue try. Yeah. So environment, working for government, that's also there. The work ethic that you need to fucking instill in yourself if you probably want like a graduate position in this day and age. And yeah, just a lot of interesting and weird stuff. I wasn't expecting it to go everywhere that it did, which is why I lost track of it. But yeah, give it up for Kostan. Alright.
What a day.
Alright, so we'll get started. Alright, welcome everyone. We're back here at Sexcapades, where we talk about our sexual escapades. And today I have my friend Kostan Banos. I wanted to bring him on because he has a tremendous story about a hooker whose wig he lit on fire. Take it away, Kostan.
Right. So that could be my brother Stephen Banos, who has a great story about a hooker whose wig he lit on fire.
Wait, is that actually a thing?
Oh, well, it could be a thing.
It could be.
He does have amazing stories, and some of them include hookers. But thank you for having me here on your podcast.
No worries.
It's always lovely to chat to you, Michael. So any opportunity. I guess in terms of my hooker story, which may or may not have happened, if I ever become Prime Minister, then this definitely didn't happen and probably didn't happen anyway.
So now the Prime Ministership thing is happening? Is like...
No.
Well, what do you mean? You just brought it up. Usually we're the ones that bring it up. But this time you were like...
Well, for all the listeners, it is an inside joke that they all think that I'll be the next Prime Minister, at least our little group of friends, who, I don't know if the listeners know, have known each other since primary school. We're now definitely not anywhere near the age of primary school, so I suppose I've known these guys for well over 25 years now, which is pretty crazy. Anyway, they think I should be Prime Minister because I'm the most conservative out of the lot. Yeah. So no, I don't have too many stories about actual hookers, but if I was to have set one's wig on fire, it would probably be, with some marshmallows in the backyard of an apartment or a house.
It'd be in the most conservative way possible.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. Definitely not in the streets of Thailand. Like, I haven't been there yet. That would be a nice place to visit one day.
So that we can make the story happen.
Well, it doesn't have to be in Thailand. As I said, it could be in my backyard, my parents' backyard with a fire. Yeah, I love those nights. You look up at the stars and I don't know how philosophical this podcast gets, but you look up and you think how small we are.
It's philosophical.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the first time I'm hearing one of these podcasts, and I'm on it. So
The philosophical type or the sex type?
one of yours.
Oh, okay.
Is it legitimately about sex?
No, it's not. I thought, I'm not going to get many opportunities to fuck with people when they come, so I thought I should fuck with you.
Yeah, please.
But, you were just like, you know what? You took that like a politician would take it. You just fucking rode that. So, actually, if there's anyone that's going to become Prime Minister, it's probably you, Kostan.
I don't know about that. Although I am learning. Like, I work in the government, so they're, training me hard in how to do government speak. And it's a whole different language. Like, I used to work in local government, like councils and stuff, and because our relationship with the public was pretty much direct, you pay your rates to council, and so you expect them to put those to good use. So, there's an obligation for council workers to be honest and truthful with the way they operate, which is the spending of your money, essentially. Whereas at the moment, I'm not in local government anymore. I'm in either state or federal. I don't know if I should even disclose that. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, maybe don't disclose anything that
could be.
Shouldn't be disclosed.
And honesty is definitely a thing, and transparency is very important, but it's a step away from local. You've got to be really careful about what you say, because the media can take things and just completely spin them. And people can take things and completely spin them. So me, in my, laissez-faire way, have been stopped in my tracks a few times by my seniors to say, Kostan, no, this is probably not the right way of saying something, because look how it can be construed. And you think, oh, wow, okay. And that's been a problem for ages. You and our friend Mark and Jimmy, and you guys always latch on to sentences that I say off the top of my head, and just critique the words, or it's great. That's building me up to my potential prime ministerhood.
Yeah, not only are you the most likely to be a prime minister in our little group, but you're the most likely to have a cartoon based off you, because you can be interpreted as a caricature almost.
Yeah, you think?
Absolutely.
Well, there is a cartoon that you created.
There is sort of a cartoon, a little. Yeah, absolutely, that's true.
Yeah. Took you a long time to make. Do you want to tell us quickly about that?
Nah, this is more about you.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get to that on the episode when I run out of people to talk to, and I'm
But I don't want a whole episode just to be about me. We're sharing experiences.
Yeah. We're gonna share your experience, and then you know what I'm saying. It's you're gonna. No pressure. We're just hanging out.
Yeah.
And you better tell us everything. You have to tell us about yourself.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, no, not really, but actually, you're doing a good job. Talking about government, not government, but your role in the government. And so, you state / and or federal government.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. I don't care.
Moving from local government to that, do you feel like you're doing less? Do you feel like you're doing less or more? Maybe it's obvious that you're doing more because it's more of a bigger picture thing, so you've got more of an impact on stuff, but what do you feel in your heart?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I don't know. Work's a boring topic, but anyway, we'll cover it quickly, I guess. State government is where I work, and I'm proud of it because I think the feds are so out of touch, so out of touch with what's happening. It's ridiculous, like it's insane, and we've seen that throughout this COVID, and we've seen it throughout the bushfires, and we've seen it through every emergency that 2020's had. We've seen the absolute disconnect with our federal government and what's happening on the ground. Local is very close. They are more in tune, not totally in tune, because, you know, governments still have a lot of issues that they need to get around. But do I feel like the work that I'm doing is more closely aligned with my values and those being trying to serve the community in my best capacity? I was hesitant when I moved. I was like, at council, like I can see the results of my work. I can see how they're assisting the community on a small scale. And someone said a long time ago that the best way to help or do something productive is to think global, act local. And I think that's a great saying. So I was doing exactly that for 4.5 years. So I was worried about moving into state because there, I guess, that level of disconnect, greater disconnect from the public. But I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. And as you put so eloquently, there is that ability to have a more strategic overview of the decisions and construct mechanisms for change at a broader scale. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. I do enjoy that. And yeah, I feel like I'm doing it, and the program that I'm working on is a nationally based program. So I'm not just doing it for New South Wales. I feel like I'm doing it for all of Australia, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Get to have meetings with people in WA, and you got to think, oh yeah, you guys are 3 hours behind us. So
oh shit, yeah.
We're a big country.
Yeah. I used to face that same issue when I was playing video games. I would play with people from WA. Anyway, it's way less professional than what you say.
No.
But
well, same goes for when you're dealing with overseas people.
True.
Like some of our friends at the moment who are overseas, and we play games with them.
It's true, but it helps that they're stuck at home right now, like 24/7. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much you've already gone into the craziness that we're experiencing right now. Like it's such a strange period in the history of human civilization. Because, like, all right, I like history. Mm-hmm. Do you like history?
I love history. I bought a history book recently. I was going to point to it, but it's actually my bedroom.
Damn. Yeah. Let me see if I can see through walls.
Yeah.
Like Superman. Not quite. My fiance teaches history. She's got an honours degree in it. And so you stop and you think, okay, like when you look back at history, what are the moments that you look at? And if you talk like prehistoric or ancient history, you look, oh yeah, there was this huge thing that killed the dinosaurs. Yeah. Like that's a big event, but you know, that happened over thousands, tens of thousands of years or whatever. I don't know. I haven't studied that much. And you start to look at, it wasn't instant.
No. Okay.
No. You start to look, because like the clouds or whatever from the meteor blocked the sun, which prevented the plants from photosynthesizing. Mm-hmm. So a lot of animals died of starvation, apparently. Yeah.
And here we are thinking that the meteorite just like exploded all the dinosaurs away.
Not quite.
No.
But you know that song, you'll never see a dinosaur alive? In Play School? Did you ever watch Play School?
Of course I watched Play School.
Yeah.
First of all, second of all, I don't remember that specific song. Third of all, who were your two favorite Play School hosts?
I can't remember them.
Let's see.
Honestly. I remember Big Ted.
It's because you were remembering the like unimportant shit. I was fucking remembering... Definitely Monica was one of them.
Oh, yes.
You remember? Okay. Yeah. But there was another guy that I forget his name, but like I can picture his face right now.
I can't.
And I was like, whenever they would have like the show, I would be like, this is the best episode. Everyone shut the fuck up. We have to watch Play School.
I love it.
Yeah. But,
anyway, we will never see dinosaur alive. Unless you think, well, crocodiles are pretty much dinosaurs.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Got some big ones here in Australia. Anyway, I don't even know where I was going. Oh yeah, history. So when you get into human history, like we haven't been on this planet for that long. Thank you, Michael. What is this that you are pouring me?
It's a spirit made from tree sap.
Oh,
Yeah,
very cool.
it's Greek.
It's going to lubricate my mind.
Yes,
I like it.
is.
Stiniyamas.
Stinianos. That was some Greek for everyone. Oh, it's from Greece. Yes, very good.
Thank you.
Very thematic.
So I guess you look at what, humans have done, and then you start to think, okay, what are the big moments in human history that everyone remembers? And like you look at ancient history and you remember, I don't know, like beginning of Rome, the fall of Rome. You look at the conquest of Great Britain. You look at migration from Africa. Like you're looking at big events, and then as we get closer to our current day, you start to look at modern history and you think, okay, the massive events were like the French Revolution, the Renaissance, like the leaps in technology which allowed for nuclear fusion, like getting more and more recent. And you think, okay, we're looking at a period of 2,000 years, and what everyone knows or what everyone remembers are only like one or two moments. But in 1,000 years, it's like, I don't know, 200 generations of humans, probably more. I don't know. My maths isn't working. Maybe I should have some more of this. So you think in our lifetime, will we have a moment that people in 1,000 years will look back and say, oh, there was that moment in, our lifetime.
Yeah.
1990 to whenever we die. I just wonder if there will be one. I don't think COVID will. COVID's big. It's big news for us. It's big news for the century. But I don't know if it's big news for the millennium.
Yeah.
9/11.
Yeah.
I reckon that will go down. That will be remembered in 1,000 years. I reckon. Yeah. Don't you?
Yes, especially considering how many of the repercussions have not happened yet. So people might look to it as like the start of something that we haven't experienced yet.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Do you think anything else? Say in the last 100 years, do you think there'll be what other moments could be remembered in 1,000 years' time?
That we have lived through?
Well, not necessarily, because I'm saying let's go back maybe 50 years or 100 years. But yeah, if it was in our lifetime, then even better. Maybe fall of the Berlin Wall. That's kind of big.
Yeah.
Because you're talking like a massive country attempting a new system of governance for, how long did they do it? 80 years. 70 years. That's big. Fall of that.
I think there's stuff brewing in like Russia right now. And in the last however many years. Sort of, I think, being ignored, I guess. But I mean, that stuff's going to eventually escalate to the point where it's not ignored or... Yeah, it's going to be not ignored. And something's like either... something big will happen, or Russia will go through some like leadership changes or political changes.
So you're talking social, political, or technological?
Well, however many years ago, Russia, like a Russian army went into like a place and was like, this is now Russia. This is now part of Russia. And everyone was like, okay.
Which place are you referring to?
I forget.
Okay. Yeah.
But,
not Ukraine?
No, I don't think that's happened yet, or that already happened. There was definitely another place where everyone was like, what the fuck? And I feel like there's definitely tensions between Ukraine and Russia right now.
Well, we saw that blow up 2 years ago.
we saw that blow up 2 years ago. What happened? Can you refresh my memory?
There were... Didn't a plane get shot down over Ukraine?
Yeah, that was like just like an airspace thing.
Yeah.
Right?
And then there was protests in Ukraine because they wanted more separation from Russia, I think.
Yeah.
And then Russia pulled troops in and showed their might and said, no, you guys, you're a separate country, but follow us.
So they already put troops in.
Yeah, they did. I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
Someone should fact check me. It was like there was like how can I say, like a little friction between them, and then the possibility of just being like, well, we've already moved troops into this place, and just being like, that's part of Russia, so if we do that, like, we can do that to you guys, obviously. Like, I don't know. So that's what it was in my head, and I don't know, is Putin in his like third term or fourth term, or I don't know, or he changed the laws so that he could have extra terms, and like, I mean, that in itself is like, you look at it and you're like, whoa, like, what's the harm in that? But maybe in like 50 years it'll be like, so this is where this big issue started. Like, it was with this, I mean, like, yeah, if you look back to like Hitler, he didn't just become the fucking dictator, he got a bit of power and then he changed rules so that he could get more power, and then it was like pretty much like Star Wars episode 1 to 3, like that's pretty much like a rip-off of Hitler's rise to power.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And Stalin's.
See, I didn't even know about Stalin, so maybe, yeah. But yeah, I feel like Russia could be a thing.
And actually the first emperor of Rome, well before them, did the exact same thing. Because they were a republic, obviously. And then, the head of the council just slowly got more and more power.
Yeah.
Until there was a war.
And it became like a dictatorship?
The emperor.
The emperor,
of Rome.
yeah. But like Russia has been like the Caesar.
Yeah, Augustus, I think was, I don't know. My dad and my fiance will murder me if they listen to this with all my incorrect dates.
It's fine. What's it called? Yeah, but the thing with Russia is that it's like communism that's transforming into that, as opposed to like a republic. Right.
I mean, Russia is very capitalist right now.
Yeah.
They've got a very strong government that has too much control over its population, probably. But then the way their economy works, it's very capitalist.
Alright, so I don't know shit then, and I'm just like
That's all right.
getting my history from anecdotes and from like memes, maybe.
I don't think you're wrong per se. I think there is definitely an essence of communism within the government structure there. Because, for instance, the friends that we mentioned earlier, Jimmy and Mark, accompanied me to Russia 2 years ago for the World Cup, which was awesome.
But it was very different during the World Cup than it would be if we went today.
Because the government went, all right, we're going to clean up our act because we're having 10,000, no, many more than that. Thousands, tens of thousands is the word I'm trying to get to, of tourists, and the whole world will be watching.
Yeah.
So they, in the 11 cities or whatever, 7, I don't know, the cities that had the stadiums in it, they put in a rule, no weapons. So apparently normally you can carry guns around. I'm not sure if it's similar to America. I haven't been to mainland America. So apparently there's often bodyguards of people that have automatic rifles or whatever that just walk around the streets, and all the cops are heavily armed. But for the period of the World Cup, for that month, there was no guns allowed. I, as someone from Australia where I don't see guns ever, felt really safe because there were just no guns. And even the cops didn't have guns on them. Some of them did, but none of the big automatic rifles that apparently they do. So I think the government went around to any troublemakers that they know of and said, if you put one foot out of line, one toe out of line, that's it. And it worked.
Yeah.
So that, I guess, shows the level of control that they got over their people,
Yeah.
which is a bit scary. Yeah, I mean, not last night, the night before I watched V for Vendetta. So
Yes.
that's going to like totally skew lots of things that I say today
Mm-hmm.
because I love that movie.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And I watched it, well, because I heard that my fiance hadn't seen it. I'm like, what? We watched Zombieland the night before because she hadn't seen that. She didn't like it because there was no plot. But it doesn't need a plot. It's a zombie movie.
If anything, there was only plot, and you could say that there was no story. But there sort of is a story because what's the main character's name?
I only watched it 2 days ago. I can't remember. Columbus.
Yeah, Columbus goes through like a change, so there is a bit of a story, and there's like, if anything, there's like extra plot compared to story. So, you know what? I might not know about history, but I fucking know that shit. So.
She's wrong. She's an English teacher and she's wrong. V for Vendetta, on the other hand, has a wonderful plot.
Yes.
It's a beautifully told narrative. I really like the character development. I'm watching Natalie Portman.
Oh, yeah.
What an actress.
Tremendous in that.
Oh, what an actress. Like, literally shivers down my spine watching her. Yeah. Anyway, so that skews. That's all about. It's basically based on 1984 by George Orwell. Like, governments having too much control over their people, which is why I'm really, glad to see the protesters out at the moment, all across the Western world. I absolutely do not condone the actual physical violence and the rioting and the looting. I think that makes me sick seeing people just break into stores where people have worked hard to raise capital to get their own shops in some cases, and people who haven't worked as hard or maybe not given the opportunities, but definitely in some cases are just taking advantage of the situation. That makes me sick. But the cause, and I want to believe that the majority of people out there are doing it for the right reasons, it's definitely one to get behind.
I've definitely seen situations where protesters are like, I've seen a thing where protesters like protecting cops from like the mob. I've seen things where like a rioter got like separated from a bunch of rioters, and then the protesters like grabbed him and like carried him to the cops and like threw him at the cops. Like, so, there's a lot of grey area in there.
Yeah, there's a huge divide. I think this weekend in Sydney, people are going to Hyde Park. Is that today?
Yeah, I think that was supposed to happen. I actually heard shit on the news for like I never fucking listen to the news, but it just happened to be on the radio the other day. No, it was yesterday. I think like police are trying to negotiate with the heads of the protest to essentially be like, don't do it because of COVID, and they were going to go before a judge to try to get the judge to just be like, you can't do this. I don't know what happened to that though.
That's right. I heard about that too. And only because of a Batuta Advocate article. Love Batuta Advocate. Because they were saying, I can't remember the quote, but something along the lines of, the chief of police wants the protest to stop.
Yeah. Because
there'll be lots of people in the same vicinity and there's a COVID issue. But NRL's starting back this weekend, and there will be...
What, for fucking crowds?
That number of people, and you just like... the hypocrisy is just baffling. Oh.
There's this fucking like one like metaphor or example that I always think of in situations like this. Like, if you're writing like a script, like for a studio, there's people whose jobs it is to like critique the script. So, like, them getting paid, for them to get paid, they have to do their job. So if I hand in the perfect script, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, they need to do their job, so they'll fucking find something to critique. I think I don't know. Whenever shit like this happens, like I always remember that one. It's like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, these guys, their job is to just fucking be like, yes, no, I think this, I think that. So, I don't fucking know, man. Like,
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of parallels to that in other areas. Definitely. It's a good analogy, actually.
thank you.
I like it.
Some things.
Have you written the perfect script and
No,
got it back and
No,
said,
I've really written shit.
I don't doubt that for a second. As in, I doubt that very much.
No, I've only written shit. And like, I think the whole, yeah, absolutely. I've only written shit, absolutely. Like, it's, I think we romanticize things like that a bit too much, and it's definitely to the detriment of the person trying to do it. Because every time you try to do it, you're like, wow, I need to do the perfect thing right now. But, you know, if that's really your profession, then you would write a script like you would take a shit. You know, it wouldn't mean anything to you, and then you'd fucking move on. And then eventually you just fucking work on something so much, or you like better something so much that it's eventually good. But if you're sitting down thinking, oh, I'm going to do something and it has to be fucking amazing or it has to be perfect, then you're like shooting yourself in the foot. Like when it comes to stuff like that, you just got to do it. You just got to shit it out, get it out of the way. Eventually you improve, and eventually you do it like shitting, but you won't be creating shit.
Yeah, I agree. As you said that, I took a sip of my beautiful thing and a fly fell into it. I'm really disappointed. I'm going to drink it anyway.
Yeah, just do it.
You know, in like 5 years' time, people are going to be eating bugs like as a main meal.
This is a good topic to get into.
Well, not too much. I got to drive at some point. Yeah, come on, fill me up a little bit more. It's really smooth.
Yeah, right?
It's beautiful. I think I've had it before once.
You would have, I mean, well, fuck no. Yeah, we'll just leave it there. I know they used it in like baking, like other shit.
Is it from Mastica?
Yeah, it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And taste it. It's beautiful. Have you been to Hios?
No, I haven't. No.
I went when I was 11 on a family holiday.
Remember much?
Yeah. Hios is an absolutely beautiful island. For those listeners out there, not to be confused with iOS, as the Aussies call that island near Mykonos. So there's an island, Ios, iOS.
Yeah.
And then this island that I'm talking about is Hios, H-I-O-S, or C-H-I-O-S. The iOS one is like just a party island now,
Gotcha.
where Aussies go and get drunk and have sex on the beach and stuff. You know.
Do we do anything else like overseas? Is that pretty much what we're known for? Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, why not, right? We're just humans.
We're just humans.
Okay, but Hios, the island where they have the mastic trees, where the mastica comes from. There's these trees and the sap, as you said before, you can make heaps of stuff out of it. I like the chewing gum because I like the taste. They make the alcohol and heaps of other stuff.
Chewing gum is different.
Surely you can pick up the lid.
Is it next to me? I'm scared to like fuck up the flow of the conversation. So,
It's all right.
Thank you for giving me the courage.
Careful.
See what I'm saying, man? This place is falling apart.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I listen to my brother's podcasts all the time, and the random things that happen, like to him, and it's just funny, you know. You like, I don't know, I'm washing the dishes or driving around and listening to my brother chat to his mate Anadin in their science podcast called Midnight Conversations. I really, really enjoy it.
Getting out or leading podcast apps everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, and then they just say random stuff, and it's funny. I enjoy it. But they do talk some good science, and
They do.
having a science degree, I do enjoy that kind of chatter.
No, it's good shit. There's a part of me that like gets annoyed when I listen to it because I'm expecting them to just like have my definition of a podcast, which is like just a chat, like that everyone's listening to. But it's more like a well put together YouTube video with no video. And once I saw it as that, I like it's really, I dig it because I try to find stuff like that where it's like a guy going through like a science paper, and essentially break it down for me, so I don't have to fucking read it. And they do that, and that's like a really valuable thing because, yeah, there's a lot of information in the world that's like, do this, do that. This is the best for you. This is the best for you, and it's like all contradictory. So I find that it's like a lot easier to make up your mind if you do your own research and just understand at least what the papers are saying, and then you draw your own conclusions. Whereas people just usually look at the conclusions that other people have drawn from them, and then it's like, that's why it seems so, what's the word, like contradictory. So I like that they take us through the results, then they make up their opinion, and then you can make up yours as well, because you know no, it's good. I enjoy it. It's a handy podcast to listen to.
It's a great summary. Yeah. I enjoy it for the same reasons. I do like the structure of it, the structure of the podcast, because like, you know, they begin by discussing the paper. As you said, they go to the results, and then they discuss their interpretation of the results based on anecdotal evidence and their own personal observations, which is cool. And then there's sort of a conclusion where they decide not to agree or agree with it. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, and I like the fact that he breaks scientific terms, and scientific papers are not easy to read by any stretch of the imagination, but he breaks it down to a level where they can discuss it for the layman. And my brother's not science trained, but yeah, he enjoys it too. Are you going to get him on this podcast?
Yeah, eventually.
Good, because he's good.
I
love him.
He's great. I don't know exactly what we'd... So, like, what I try to do, or, like, not what I've been doing, so what I try to do is wrong, but my original vision was, like, I'm going to get people on here, we're going to talk about what they're doing, like their profession, like, break it down for everyone, essentially, because we can't all fucking go so in depth into every fucking profession. So I don't know, I think it'd be cool to get like someone that's done something that you're never going to be able to do because you don't have so many years to dedicate to it, and like fucking break it down, and then sort of realize that, hey, we're all just people with jobs. Like, yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So while we're on that subject, I should, like, is it fair fucking going back? This is like something that I was going to say going back like 20 minutes, but am I right in saying that like your fucking professional goal in life is to just save the environment on some level?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was. Like...
It was?
It was in the sense that as a teenager, I guess I grew up and I was thinking, you know, what do I want to do? No one knows what they want to do. Well, some people say that they do, but who knows? Anyway, like, it's hard to construct a goal for your life or find a passion. Like, I'm not a particularly passionate or emotional person, generally speaking, which is not good. Like, I used to be, more so, I think, you know, throughout teenage years, obviously, hormones are going crazy and there's a direct relationship between hormones and emotions. But now I'm sort of a lot more passive. Like, my highs are not as high and my lows are definitely not as low, which means I can breeze through life. So trying to find a passion for myself has always been a challenge. But I guess going back, started in year 10 at work experience, funnily enough. Everyone says, well, no, I imagine people say work experience is a load of codswallop, but it really changed my life. Because in that same year, I had a fantastic science teacher. I think the personality of your teachers throughout school definitely shift your interest. A really, really good science teacher. I then went and did work experience at Ansto. So I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's basically the nuclear reactor that we have down in Lucas Heights, near Menai in Sydney. And I got to do 2 days of work experience there as a 15-year-old, because my auntie worked there, and they showed me the most amazing things, like pure science. I got to go inside the old reactor. So there's two reactors.
That's crazy.
And like the thing I remember, like it was yesterday, is walking, like putting the full hazmat stuff
Shit.
on, right? Because they'd taken the cores out and put them in the deep water, dense water, okay, dark water, one of those. Put it in the water that like there's no radiation. Clearly, I haven't done science for like 10 years now. So the cores were out, so we could walk into the reactor. So I had to put the full hazmat suit on. I went in, and there's the control panel, and it is exactly like Homer Simpson's office. Like the lights and the buttons and the white panel with the glass, and I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. All it was missing was a box of donuts. It was so cool. But while I was there, we did some forensic science. So they showed me how to take samples off, I guess, weapons to check for fingerprints. I went into the environmental section. They'd recently brought core samples up from Antarctica, and they were using carbon dating methods to track the age of the ice cores and determine, I guess, atmospheric concentrations of different particles and molecules in those different times, which leads a lot to the climate science that we've got. Climate science should be debated, but should be debated in the right way. But that's I guess maybe we can get into that later. But people are like, oh, climate change is bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But like when you go into those labs and you see the types of experiments that they're doing, it's rigorous science behind what they're saying. Like you can track different levels of different molecules, for example, carbon dioxide or methane, and you can track the changes throughout life. And you can also see through like, I guess, rock samples or I think they use an isotope of uranium or another one of those highly volatile elements to track carbon levels at different stages, and they can check the temperature, and there's a correlation between temperature and greenhouse gas emissions. Anyway, that's beside the point, but now you're getting to know a little bit more about what I studied at uni. But yeah, back then in year 10, I saw it all for the first time, and it was just eye-opening and fascinating. And I saw my auntie zapping medical instruments with like actual radiation to cleanse them so that you could use medical tools in surgery without any risk of there being bacteria which causes infection on patients. I saw, fake hearts being made for people and just, some of the work that our scientific organizations do just is taken for granted, and countless governments have just slashed funding to those areas without any regard for the future impact of our society. And that's really heartbreaking. And a few years back, I went on a rally. I haven't been on a rally since George Bush wanted to invade Iraq. As a child, my parents took me to that one. Wow. Then the only other rally that I went to was this science one, because the government at the time was trying to slash funding to sciences, and I think they still did, because they just don't listen to people who get up and fight for, speak loudly, which, could bring us back to the current predicament where people are rioting, and I don't know what the government's going to do about this racism thing. Anyway, again, tangent.
We got time for all the tangents you can think of.
Good. Well, I guess we'll go back to that one. It just shows, it's hard when you've got limited resources to invest in the right things. But I think that science is a really important one for us to invest in, and I don't think leaving it to the private sector is the best way of doing things, because everything that the private sector wants to do has to make the money. And some of the scientific research doesn't make money in the short term, but it changes the way we live in the long term. I mean, the best example is Wi-Fi. CSIRO, Australian Scientific Organisation, funded by the government, invented Wi-Fi. And we didn't patent it properly, and everyone uses it now. It is pretty much everywhere on the globe where humans are, there is Wi-Fi. And to think that a couple of Aussie science geeks in a lab invented that and probably still getting paid on the same shitty salary. Or maybe their jobs have been slashed because namely conservative governments have slashed science funding, which is just disgusting. So that's sad. I saw, actually, I went down to Canberra a couple of years ago where they have 100 objects. It's a British Museum exhibition that they brought to the National Australian Museum in Canberra, and it's 100 objects that define history across the world throughout our history. So there's some really cool objects there, and they had 101, and that was Wi-Fi, just for shits and giggles. So that was cool.
Love it.
Oh, this stuff's delicious. So, okay, you want to hear more about my profession. So, got the passion in year 10, so to speak, for science. I've always loved the environment. Like I was going through, as I guess a lot of us are during this COVID period, going through some older stuff that we've got, in our houses, trying to throw out some of my baby stuff, some old books that I had as a kid. Found some beautiful books about nature and like pictures of animals and pictures of rainforests, and I've always been hooked by David Attenborough and his documentaries. He's just magnificent. So I guess there was always that, love for nature within me. And so when I was in year 11, I didn't even pick geography as a subject. I thought I'd, do economics instead, learn how the economy works. You don't learn shit in high school economics, by the way. But some of the principles have helped. And I did history as well and chemistry, which I absolutely flunked. But I loved it. Like I sucked at science, and I still suck at science, but I loved it. I loved the learning. So it doesn't matter if you suck at something. You should try it anyway. That's what I say.
Exactly. 100%. If you enjoy it that deeply, then nothing is gonna stand in the way of your fucking tenacity to keep doing it and be amazing at it.
Well, I mean, repeated failures stood in the way of me going into anything properly science related. Not failure, just I realized at one point that I'm just no good at it. But we'll get to that, I guess, because in year 12, didn't do as well in my HSC as I wanted to. It doesn't matter. Although it still keeps me up at night.
Dude, fuck.
Being a tech boy, take pride in my school and high school years.
Parents and fucking going through the embarrassment.
They didn't care. They were proud of me.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
My parents are super supportive. I was just shattered for myself, but I didn't try hard enough. So then I decided to do a Bachelor of Science at uni, because why not?
Yeah.
What is that mysterious liquid that you're pouring?
It's the blood of Christ. Do you understand?
The blood of Christ. I'm still going on my mastica, so I'll wait.
Sorry for you.
So I did a Bachelor of Science because I figured it was like a Bachelor of Arts, but it actually led to something and taught you something.
That's fucked.
No offense to all those arts degree people out there. I'm sure you're working really hard behind the deep fryer in Macca's.
It's alright, guys. I've lived your fucking life. I'm going to bash Kostan after this. It's alright.
Hey, so have I. I've done some shitty jobs. A cleaner in the back of a butcher and telemarketer. Anyway, did science because it was cool, and I was not great at it. In fact, I was sort of going towards medicine and molecular biology after 2 weeks was just too much for me. So I swapped it at the last minute to geography, because why not? And then that geography course ended up shaping the rest of my degree, and I majored in geography and environmental studies. So it's kind of fortunate in the end that I quit because it was too hard for that particular subject, and I changed subjects. And the lesson there is, don't be afraid to try something, and don't be afraid to stop doing it if you find that it's too hard, because other opportunities crop up. That's an important lesson, because I think a lot of people always get told, if you start something, you got to try and finish it. Like, don't give up. Giving up's weakness. Yeah. But doing it in the right way can really help. Like, benefited me.
No, definitely.
Yeah, important lesson. What are we up to? Have we been tracking our lessons in this podcast so far? Are we saying lessons?
No, we're just giving our own personal sort of anecdotes. And
I'm giving life lessons to myself right here.
Fuck, that's what it's all about.
So after science degree, did
you, at that point, did you know that were you like, all right, science degree done, I'm gonna try look for a fucking Greenpeace or something environmental?
Yeah, I didn't really know what I wanted to do out of that, because science degree is like an arts degree in that you finish it and then you think, well, now what? And you kind of got to either do more study or just get a random job.
Yeah.
At the time, I really wanted to travel. I just wanted to live in the moment a bit. So I did that. After I finished, I worked menial, nothing, dead-end jobs for a while. Made enough money to then travel for 3.5, 4 months. And that traveling was like one of the best things that I've ever done in my life. Still is definitely up there. It was an amazing experience. Loved it. Really challenged me in so many ways. Like, as soon as you leave the safety net of Australia and family, and you've got to find a place to sleep, find food, you start to look at the core essentials. Like, you're there to have fun, but I'd only booked a little bit of stuff, so there's a lot of stuff that I had to book on the fly. So you really learn.
On the fly.
On the fly.
Oh, okay.
The expression.
I was going to say that's a very costly thing.
No, there was no internet. Like, I didn't have a smartphone back then. I bought a $200 crappy notebook, and I'd sit in the corridor of my hostel trying to get 1 bar of free Wi-Fi reception so that I could book where I was going to sleep the next night. It was cool. So that's what I did, and that was amazing. And then I came back, ended a long-term relationship.
Nice.
Started a new degree.
Nice. Wait, you started that degree before you...
I started a new degree when I got back. It was a postgraduate in environmental management.
Fuck, I thought you got one of your jobs, either some sort of... I don't want to name it in case you're not allowed, but you got one government job, which me and Mark travelled to meet you at, because you were fucking working so far away.
You can name it.
I can name it? Oh, so
yeah.
You're working for Sydney Water.
State Water,
my bad. And then I thought you did it after you came back.
So when I got back from Europe, I reckon this would be so boring for other people. But anyway, I'm enjoying it. I hope you're enjoying it, Mike.
Okay. we can just jump straight into the fucking environment and how we're all going to die.
Well, yeah. I suppose we should see how I got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that. I did a postgrad at UNSW. My bachelor was at Sydney. Both great unis. I'm sure most unis are. Yeah. And then, that was, I guess, where I found that new job at State Water Corp.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that you could do after your class was there was a science meet industry thing. So I signed up and I went to that. I went to heaps of stuff. Like, to get a job, you've got to be proactive.
Yeah.
And to be proactive, you got to look stuff up and then go to those things. So I went to this thing, and it's all well and good to sit there in the back row like I did, like partially drunk and not even take notes. But I thought, like, I'm an adult now. I got to do something. So I really enjoyed two of the speakers.
Yeah.
And I waited after the forum, and I went up to them, and I asked, "Hi, I'd like some experience in your organization," and I named one of the examples that they'd used when they were talking to show that I was paying attention. I got their contact details, and then I didn't do anything for a month. And then a month later, I was like, oh, I got these guys' email addresses. I should probably do something.
Yeah.
So I sent them an email just being like, oh, sorry, maybe my last email didn't come through, which was a lie.
Classic.
And you know what I did? In that email to State Water, I thought that was Sydney Water. So I wrote, I love the work that Sydney Water does, blah, 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 Sydney Water, blah, blah, blah.
Dude, that's why I remember it as that, because of that story that I've heard before.
And the guy responds back to me, he's like, oh, I think you mean State Water. Fuck. I'm like, yeah, it was just a typo 6 times. Yeah. So I asked for, an internship. I was just like, all volunteer work. Just like, I want to volunteer. And he's like, our headquarters are out in Dubbo. I'm like, yeah, that'll totally be fine. Like, I'll go out to Dubbo. I'll do it for nothing. And so he's like, let me see. So he contacts someone else. And then I go into this meeting with this guy, go into this room in some fancy-ass building in the city. I'm wearing a suit. Nice. And this guy just, spends an hour teaching me shit that, is so far beyond me that I had no idea what was going on. And then he's like, all right, so we'll see you in Dubbo. I'm like, that wasn't an interview. You just, spent an hour putting maths equations up on the board.
What the fuck?
And I got no idea what you're talking about. But sure. And so I went out to Dubbo, and they paid me. Suckers.
Fuck, that's so good.
It was great.
Oh, man, I feel like all those things, you're like, yeah, I'm not, all the fucking uni events, you're like, you see them and you're like, I'm not going to fucking go, or I'm going to go get all the free shit, and then, I'm going to delude myself into fucking, talking to these people, or, messaging them after, or asking them for a job, or anything. But you fucking did it, and you actually got a fucking job from it. And that was, the first job in your sort of industry, if I'm right? Yeah. So...
Yeah, the first long-term job in my industry. Mm-hmm. I was also looking at the job emails that get sent out through unis.
Yeah.
And I got a job as a waste auditor. So I literally was dealing with rubbish. So I'd go to garbage tips and sort through the crap there.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, it was nasty.
You got sick, right?
I got so sick.
Yeah, you got sick and had to quit. You eventually quit.
Yeah. I popped my shoulder around the same time. It was just a mess. That job, they trained me up and did all this amazing stuff for me. They invested money in me, and I just wasn't able to give them that return on investment.
Yeah.
By no fault of myself or theirs. It was just super unfortunate. But I guess that's the risk you got to take as an organisation. I was cheap labour for them.
Money to throw away.
Yeah, that was cool. But yeah, no, the State Water was huge, and for me it was big because I had to leave home properly, and I would have been a lot more nervous about doing that had I not done the Europe trip. Yeah. So I really feel like that gave me the guts to go out and explore the world. So the Monday I was going to start. On the Friday, I went to my mechanic and said, I hear you got a spare car. that you're trying to sell? He's like, yeah, it's this little shitbox Mazda 323. Like, how much? And he sold it for me for like $2,000. And I drove that piece of shit to Dubbo on the Sunday, and I started work on the Monday.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that car. Not that I'm into cars at all, but I love the experiences.
Oh, fuck, I remember that car. The fucking windows wouldn't roll up.
Yeah.
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 Fuck.
Yeah.
I think everyone's going to have like a shitty first car to like appreciate anything in life later on. Like,
Yeah.
If your first car's not shitty, you just... You know, it's like you peak too early otherwise.
You take things for granted otherwise. Like, it was manual and it was crap and there was no aircon.
Yeah.
And like, I just dealt with it.
Do you remember my fucking first car, the red one? Fuck, man. I remember by the end of its life cycle, I would fucking... This is how broke I was as well. I would fucking... To go to the train station or drive it, and then before... It's like a block away. A block away from the train station, there's like a huge fucking hill. And I would fucking park it at the top of the hill if I got there early enough because the battery was fucking flat. So the only way to start it would be to fucking jump start it. So every fucking day I'd go to the train station early, and then at the end of the day, I'd fucking walk a whole block from even though there's parking right next to the train station, I'd walk a whole fucking block just so I could get to the fucking hill where the car was parked at, so I could fucking roll it down the hill and fucking jump start it. And drive home, park it at the fucking hill in front of my house, and then repeat. And I wouldn't fucking, I didn't have the money for a fucking battery.
Oh, man. Oh, wow.
Which is the fucking beauty of like a fucking manual car.
Yes.
And an older car as well. Like,
you can't do that with modern cars.
No.
Even modern manual, because there's too many like electronics that rely on this computer system. Like,
I was at this fucking event doing like photography with these new cars. And to fucking take the photos, the door had to be open. And when the fucking door's open, the fucking computer screen, because this thing has a fucking computer screen, is like on, telling you that the fucking door's open. So naturally it's gonna fucking run out of battery, and there's nothing you can fucking do about it. Even though the key's like out of the ignition and it's off, the fucking computer's like, no, close the door. So that car is just like, you can't just keep the fucking door open. Like, it's just, the fucking technology's come so far that it's fucking annoying to you.
it's now counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm grateful that I don't need to jumpstart my car every morning, but also I really appreciate not fucking, like, knowing that there's some features in your cars, it's not fucking desirable to me. Yeah, we've come a bit too far.
Thanks for the tea, by the way. It's a wonderful setup. You've presented me with beautiful alcohol, tea and water. Love it.
I mean, I've got to make up for all the times that I come over and like you just give me water straight away because you know how fucking thirsty I get.
You do like your water.
I do like it. Oops, sorry.
So I think we're in Dubbo. That was cool. That was so cool.
Do they have good internet there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Better than ours, where it used to be back when we didn't have NBN. Fucking Dubbo had NBN.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah. It's a big regional centre.
Yeah.
It's 40,000 people. I loved it. If ever you have an opportunity to live out in rural areas, I recommend, just for a little bit. I think it gets boring after too long, but
the nightclub was fucking surreal though. Like, there's... Yeah, I think that's like my most well-remembered fucking nightclub experience.
the Amaru. Yeah.
The only nightclub, right, in Dubbo?
Yeah.
Fuck, man, I fucking remember that. It was just... It was hilarious. It's fun. I can't even, like... There's like two people on the dance floor. Everyone's in fucking hoodies. There's a secchi that's like going around telling people, hey, you gotta put your hoodie down. I don't know why it's disrespectful, or the cameras can't get you or something. Fucking... You go out at, like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, when it's like fucking -4 degrees, and...
Yeah.
I don't know, you go to the nightclub and you're all excited to be at the fucking only nightclub in Dubbo, and like you're just not partaking in the usual nightclub activities. You're just like, I'm here, like I've reached the fucking pinnacle. Like I don't actually want to be at a nightclub. I just just want to do something with my life, and there's nothing else in Dubbo except this one fucking nightclub.
We danced.
We did dance a bit.
Yeah.
But I was like really sober.
The three of us.
I was like fucking. Oh. Yeah. No, that was.
It's because we went on a Friday night, and apparently it goes off on a Saturday.
Oh, of course it goes off
Yeah.
on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Probably would have been like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Woody Judy.
I do love the pubs there. They have fantastic pubs.
Pub was nice from what I remember.
Yeah, I'm not much of a clubbing sort of guy, so I didn't mind that.
Still, it was a fucking great experience. Like,
Yeah, I'm still, to this day, so happy that you guys came out and visited me. That was the best. Like, my own brother didn't come out and visit me.
fucking
Or
Steve.
my girlfriend, who's now my fiance, she didn't come out.
Wow.
But you guys did.
Dude, just
you know?
remember this when
Yeah,
fucking.
yeah.
Just remember this. I don't know when, but
Oh, I do, every day.
whenever you're like, when you go to heaven and God's like, all right, you can bring 2 people. Just remember who fucking came to Dubbo.
Came to
Did your
Dubbo.
parents come visit you?
Yeah, they
Alright,
did.
Fine.
Yeah,
You
my
can take
parents
them
win.
instead.
They were great. They were very supportive. Dad loved it. He came out and we did this massive drive. We went like as far as we could go, like, and then come back to Dubbo sort of thing. So we went, I didn't think we quite made it to Ningen, which is like so far west. But we went to past some other crazy little towns, like just beautiful. Like I really recommend going out and seeing the middle of Australia because we're stuck here on the coast and everything's plastic and concrete and like, yeah, I don't know. You get a different appreciation for nature out there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that still live out that way, but less and less every year, which is a shame. So I was working on the rivers. There wasn't much water in them when I was out there.
Gotcha.
But apparently there was the most water there had been in 10 years. And that was a bit depressing because it's pretty dead. But the drought was sort of starting to break.
Fuck. Yeah, we had a, how many years was that drought? Because it felt like
Crazy.
fucking forever.
Yeah.
And then one day they were just like, the drought's over, and like, it was like,
Yeah.
I was like, everyone's just walking around like it's normal. But
Yeah.
I remember this thing for like ever. Like,
Yeah.
so.
And that's Australia. That's totally normal.
Yeah.
Totally natural for like the last tens of thousands of years. That's what's been happening.
Gotcha. So global warming's fake.
Global warming exacerbates things.
Gotcha.
So it exacerbates drought, it exacerbates flood, it exacerbates heat, it exacerbates cold. It just, you know, I was saying before, my emotional spectrum, like if you picture a chart with a wave, like the peaks and troughs of that wave aren't that far apart.
Yeah.
Like with my emotional spectrum, they're not that far apart anymore. I don't know why. With climate change, the climate is always a peak and a trough, like it's a wave.
Yeah.
And what greater concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere does is that it exacerbates the peaks and it exacerbates the troughs. So just like it doesn't start anything, it doesn't change anything, although climate change, like it's in the name. What it does is it just increases the high points or the low points of climatic variation.
So does that mean you have like a cold day and then you have a warm day, or does that mean you have like a warm century and then a fucking freezing century?
That's a really good question. So to answer that, first you got to, I guess the confusing thing is the definition of weather and climate, like two totally different things.
Yeah.
The weather is what we experience day to day. Like today's cold. Winter is cold. Like the last 3 winters have been cold. That's like we're getting towards climate. That's kind of what climate is now. If it's a series of, I guess, measurements over a long period of time is what the climate is. Whereas weather's just like day to day, week to week, month to month, even a year to year. So what that would mean is like at the moment, our summers in general are hotter. There will be colder summers.
Yeah.
But in the space of 20 years, where you can see a statistically significant difference, you'll find that it is hotter than, say, the 20 years prior to that, or the
Yeah.
20 years prior to that. But then you go back, 1,000 years, and there was a mini ice age, and then before that it was quite warm. So it's all about looking at, I guess, what you're comparing it to, what the comparison is. So if you're comparing the last 100 years with, a sample of 100 years 1,000 years ago, first of all, the accuracy is not that great. You can't pinpoint 100 years, 1,000 years ago very accurately.
Yeah.
We sort of can, because 1,000 years isn't that long ago, so we can get some pretty good readings from ice core samples,
Gotcha.
going back to that conversation earlier, and from tree rings. If we find petrified wood and date it, you can generally look at the tree rings and determine, I guess, the health. And you got to do it over a lot of trees, so you can determine the health of those trees. But then,
from how hot or how cold it was or something.
and again, you can look at the elements that were composing the atmosphere at the time, and determine atmospheric composition. So I guess, will droughts in Australia, going back to that, get worse? Hell yeah. Like so much worse. And will flooding get worse? Yes. And will we have more bushfires like we had this year? Yes. Would we have more bushfires, floods and droughts if we didn't have the Industrial Revolution and continue to pump emissions into the atmosphere? We would. We would still have those things. But would we have them in greater numbers? Probably maybe the same numbers. Would we have them as severe? Probably not.
Yeah.
That's where the difference lies. The severity. And by severity, I'm talking about like the strength, like the amount of water that comes down in the drought. I mean, a flood. the length of time of a drought. Or the intensity, I guess, of bushfires. And the damage that it causes to human infrastructure, because as you probably would have realized, I think of things in an anthropocentric manner, not an ecocentric manner. So that means anthropocentric. It's a Greek word. Anthropi means people. Go on.
Anthropocentric. So
Go on.
you're removing like people from the equation, aka your thoughts, and you're just looking at it like objectively. Is this
Other way around, sort of.
okay?
So an anthropocentric, so anthro being people, centric being center. You look at things with people in the center of your thoughts,
Gotcha.
your thought paradigm. Whereas ecocentric is looking at the ecology or the planet as the center. I'm putting an emphasis on those. So a lot of people in my uni degree, for example, my initial uni degree, looked at things in an ecocentric manner.
Yeah.
So screw humanity, like we're just a plague on this planet. Get rid of humans, or and let the planet recover from everything that we've done to it, which is admirable, but I don't think it's realistic because I'm a human. Like I got to vote human one.
Do you think that is the planet really in danger? Like, do you?
Yeah, man.
Aren't we the ones that are gonna like fucking die? Like, won't the planet just like readjust itself like after we die, which will happen like way before the planet is like a fucking ball of molten lava, like we see in sci-fi movies?
Yeah, I mean, like the planet was a ball of molten lava. Like,
Shit.
yeah, it was. Like, so what I mean by is the planet in danger? I mean it's in danger of changing so much that it's no longer, ideal for us, like to live. So like the Matrix, where they scarred the skies and they all had to live underground. Like, we're nowhere near that. We are so nowhere near that. But we're on that trajectory to an extent, and that's not great.
Are there like certain milestones that when we hit them, it's like we can't go back anymore? Like I know there's like I think one example that I know is like there's ice that like fucking reflects the sun, and then there's ice that like absorbs the sun, and then no,
Not
like
the
white
second
and black
one.
ice or like something. Yeah. So like once the white ice fucking melts, the fucking black ice appears, which takes more heat, which then fucking it's like, well, that's it. That piece of ice there, it's gonna go now, because once that layer of white ice that like could deal with heat is gone, then the fucking black ice can't deal with heat, and then fucking all melts, and that's it. Like when are we gonna get that fucking ice back? Like when is water gonna go there and freeze again? Like never, until like a fucking cycle. Yeah. Kostan's nodding, everyone, just FYI. He's very proud of me. I can see it in his eyes.
I'm beaming. I'm absolutely spot on, Michael. That was like, yeah, nailed it.
So, like, with regards to what you were saying, like, we are so far off. Yeah, like, we're so far off, but how far off are we from irreversible, like, what's a smarter word for change?
Change.
From irreversible change occurring to the point that, like, we can't fucking live as comfortably on this rock.
I mean, we're past that.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Like, yeah. We've been saying it for a while. Like, scientists for like since the 60s have been like, we can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
And we have. And we've been doing it worse. So if we stopped emitting emissions tomorrow,
Yeah.
we're still like, those emissions are going to stay around for a very, 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 very long time. Like well past like the next, I don't know, few hundred, maybe 1,000 years. I haven't read too many climate change papers lately because they're depressing. I know I should, but I at the moment am trying to really focus on what I can do.
Dude, there comes a point, and like, I see it with people that have like we grew up in school and like, oh, we have to learn all this stuff, and then like we were lucky enough to go to uni, so we're in this mind space where it's like, oh, we have to learn all this stuff like even more, and it fucking takes so long to get out there into the real world and feel like you can actually do stuff. And now I feel like you're at that point where it's like, how much can you read about fucking climate change before you just feel like you can take action? Like,
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And my work does that, which is awesome. I'm so lucky that I am making an impact, however large or small it is. But I guess going back to what you said, because you said it so well, there are thresholds in the Earth system. So if you think of equilibriums, and that might be hard to imagine, but an equilibrium state is a state where things interact in a way that of like equal and opposite reaction, and each action has an equal and opposite reaction. So things, I can't even think of a good example. Like, what's in equilibrium? Yeah, like total mind blank. But I guess what I mean to say is, all right, how about the human body? That's an easy one.
yeah,
We eat and then we shit.
yeah,
So when we eat for energy,
Yeah.
right? And we need to eat enough energy from other things. So the plants generally, or animals that eat those plants, they collect energy from the sun. The energy comes from photosynthesis, which converts carbon dioxide with water into, glucose. Glucose and oxygen. And then we take energy from the glucose or the proteins or like the nutrients, basically.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert in that. And if we don't exercise, and exercising means our cells are working and it's burning off that energy which we've consumed in water vapor or heat, because it converts like energy, like we are converting the food, which is matter, into energy. and heat is another form of energy. So if we eat too much and we don't exercise enough and we don't shit enough, then we get fatter, right? Just super, like, plainly, like, broad explanation, simplistic, should I say. But if we're eating about the right amount for the amount of exercise that we do, then our bodies stay in good shape. And that's an equilibrium between the input and the output. And the climate acts like that, but in an even more complex way. So there's inputs and outputs. It's the inputs and outputs are all confined within the planet and the atmosphere, which holds everything in. If we didn't have an atmosphere, which is dictated by our gravity, dictated by the core, then things would just fly straight off into space, right? Like in other planets which don't have atmospheres, like Mars, for example.
So like being the atmosphere is like oxygen and all gases that are like fucking
surrounding the Earth, but
it's
held
like
there by gravity.
by gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the spinning of the Earth's core.
Yeah.
So the Earth is currently in balance, and it's in balance in the way that the amount of atmosphere, so the amount of, what are they called? Greenhouse gases. Let's use greenhouse gas. I've been saying that word a few times today, but for those who don't know, it's basically a molecule that to an extent captures heat or light.
Gotcha.
Radiation and converts that to heat. So the more you've got in the atmosphere, the more heat that gets trapped on the planet. So the sun emits long wave radiation. The long wave radiation goes through the space, like a wave. I'm doing a wave with my hand if you can't see that, obviously. Comes all the way to Earth, hits our atmosphere. Most of it gets reflected back from clouds with a high albedo. So you were talking about the ice. The white ice reflects heat. So do our clouds. Clouds are really important for that. The white is a reflective, I guess, color.
Yes.
And I mean, color is just what we don't see. So all the other colors go back into the atmosphere. Long wave radiation hits them, scatters. Some gets through, and then it hits the Earth, hits like the crust, it hits our buildings, it hits our trees, it hits our oceans, which make up most of the planet, and then it becomes shortwave radiation when it bounces back. And shortwave radiation is more susceptible and more easily captured by the molecules, which I've been calling greenhouse gases. So carbon dioxide, methane, carbon monoxide, what are the others? The hydrocarbons, it's the stuff. Yeah. Anyway, my mind is just all over the place today. So yeah, the balance happens where if we've got too many of those particular gases in the atmosphere, then too much heat gets trapped, and that exacerbates everything in a sense that now I'm trying to explain like hardcore climate science. I don't know if I need to.
I'm still paying attention, so
all right.
like I'm still following, so I feel like everyone else should be able to follow.
All right. Because we're getting a bit deep here, but basically oceans trap most of the heat. The oceans trap a lot of that. And this is getting complex. All right, how do I dumb it down?
Sorry, I'll ask questions to help.
All right, good.
If you get too crazy.
Good, okay. So those greenhouse gases can either be trapped in the Earth's crust, where they're inert, they're not contributing to the greenhouse effect.
Because they're not in the atmosphere,
Bingo. Or they could be trapped in the ocean. So they can either be trapped underground, in the materials, they can be trapped in water, liquid, or they can be floating around in free form in gas.
So exactly. So if it's held down by something like that you can physically touch, it's not in the fucking atmosphere, and therefore
It's not contributing. Yeah, exactly. So the Earth's equilibrium is we have volcanoes. Volcanoes burst that shit up into the atmosphere, and they do that from like the whole time the Earth's been around.
Yeah.
Right. We have heaps of volcanoes. At the moment, like on a geological scale, we're in a period of relative inactivity with volcanoes. So there's not a lot of active ones around at the moment. So we're lucky.
So pretty much what's going to happen is all
That's
the
what
fucking
helps.
greenhouse gases are in the sky and global warming's happening. So once we get rid of them and they go to the Earth, so global warming's not happening, we're going to get fucking lava everywhere. Is that what you're saying?
No, not quite.
No.
So that's one way that the Earth shoots them up into the atmosphere from the core into the Earth into the atmosphere. The way they go back into the atmosphere, back into the core, from the atmosphere, is through like where the tectonic plates meet. So I've got my hands here and they're colliding. So where tectonic plates meet, my right hand is slipping under my left hand.
Yeah.
And in that process, it happens very slowly over a long period of time. But where that is happening, it's pushing, I guess, a lot of stuff, which includes those gases, down underground into the crust. We've also got, plants suck a lot of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into their roots, and they decompose and they become part of, I guess, matter.
Yeah.
So it's taking it out of the atmosphere. Actually, when they decompose, they release it. But when they're alive, they hold it. The oceans are the biggest stores. The oceans are by far the biggest store of all that stuff. So
you cut the fucking forest down, that's greenhouse gases going back into the atmosphere as well.
Yeah. And so all that happened before humans, like the natural volcano, crust going back under other crust, volcano, crust going under crust, oceans capturing the excess, crustaceans in the ocean, absorbing the like reefs and other things that absorb that carbon dioxide. They become, they convert some of those gases into a more solid form, like calcium carbonate, which becomes things like sand. It becomes rock, and it traps those gases in that rock. So there's that equilibrium. And going back to where I was probably 10 minutes ago now, that equilibrium has been disrupted by us because we are physically going down into the ground and pulling all those gases out in the form of oil, in the form of coal, in the form of gas, natural gas. And we are burning that shit and releasing all those into the atmosphere, and doing so at a rate, like at a scale like 1 billion volcanoes. Okay, huge exaggeration there, but like way more than the biggest volcano ever.
Yeah.
And we're doing it constantly. So what do we need? We need the Earth to be like sucking it back in and creating more crust and like we need the creatures in the ocean to be capturing those carbon molecules and turning it into sand. But that takes a long time, and it's not keeping up.
Yeah.
So we've created an imbalance, which means we've screwed the threshold, and all that shortwave radiation. Remember when I said the long wave radiation comes in from the sun, hits the Earth, bounces back as shortwave. It's all getting trapped, and over time that means the planet is slowly warming up, which is why we called it global warming initially. Yeah. And then everyone raged about global warming, it's inaccurate because some places are getting colder. Well, that's true because like the warming only happens in certain parts based on the ocean currents, based on the air currents. And now even I'm getting like over the top of my head. I'm trying to remember stuff that I learned 10 years ago at uni. Struggling. So what can I do about it? What am I doing about it? I've taken a conservative approach. And I'm like, well, what we can do is try and stop emitting as much as possible. And one area that we emit a lot of emissions is through electricity usage. Electricity was one of the greatest inventions ever. It's just amazing. We use it in our day-to-day lives constantly. And a lot of parts of the world still don't have access to reliable electricity or electricity at all. So there's a lot of scope for a lot more people to be using and needing energy in the form of electricity. So because there's so much demand, I think it's important that instead of mining finite resources like coal or oil, and then burning that in a way that we can't then unburn it, that doesn't happen, and releasing those greenhouse gases, instead we can just capture processes that are happening naturally, like sunlight coming in, like wind, like ocean currents, like geothermal activity, the bubbling of heat under the ground. Capture that is energy, and turn it into usable energy to create electricity. So that's what I want, and that's the industry that I've pushed myself into, which is cool. And so I work in renewable energy. So the program that I administer is called the Green Power Program. And green power is basically renewable energy. So if you purchase green power, and anyone can do it, anyone who has an electricity bill can ask their electricity retailer, hey, I actually want to do something and contribute in a really easy way, voluntarily. It costs a little bit more.
Yeah.
But if you pay for green power, you're buying renewable energy and you're investing. So any purchase that you make is investing more renewable energy into the Australian grid, because it's creating market demand for companies who have the know-how to create renewable energy. It's creating a market for them to do so. So because you're paying for it, they're like, look, there's money to be made.
Yes.
We're going to invest more into renewables. And I administer the program that does it. So that's where I am right now, and I feel like I'm contributing. I'm happy with it. I actually didn't know that much about green power before I got the job. I just was like, I want to change. I want to do something different. So I applied for this job because I saw a couple of people, like the person that I would be working under. I recognized him as someone who's a fantastic operator in the energy industry, and I thought I'd really be able to learn a lot from him, because when I used to work in local government, I'd go to things after work. I'd go to speeches and forums and interact in different basically things run by energy people and climate change people, and you see people's names pop up. So I had seen this person before, and he's been absolutely fantastic to work under. And every day I'm learning more about how energy in Australia works. So it's paid off in the present. I don't know what my future holds, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing at the moment. And I feel like I am contributing to more renewable energy being put into the grid because I've been administering the program, which allows everyday Australians to buy renewable energy.
Yeah. That's like really one of the benefits of capitalism, is that you can fucking vote. Like how it's meant to work is that you vote with your wallet. So if you want to fucking buy into this, it's really easy by the sounds of it. Like, what do? You literally just call up your energy company and be like, hey, like, I want to pay a bigger bill, but then you give that money to the fucking right people.
That's exactly right.
And then I'm guessing if enough people pay for it, you guys get more money. You guys buy more shit that makes renewable energy. No, that's not how it works.
We don't get more money. We run on as lower, like the absolute least money possible. Like there's not many of us. There's like, at the moment there's two of us running the whole national program.
Oh, fuck.
So it's only 2 wages plus a little bit of money that we need for running our Facebook page and a couple other things, you know. And that will never increase. I think we desperately need a third person.
Fuck. Everything that you said, I felt like there were a bit more than 2 people, but...
Well, the program got set up in 1997, so it's been
and
running
2 people.
a long time.
That's efficient, man.
I'm dying. I'm struggling. It's meant to have 2.5 staff working on it, and at the moment, someone left, so I'm trying to pick up the slack and working crazy hours. But yeah, so what you said is true, but not that we don't get any more money. We don't invest money in renewables. It's the people who buy green power who invest money into renewables. So you or anyone else.
So then where would the money be going to? Like the fucking solar farm somewhere? Or?
Bingo. Yeah. I can give you a super crazy, annoyingly detailed explanation of how that works, but I don't think we need that. So yeah, you literally...
That's a basic version, I guess.
Yeah.
They take that money and buy more solar panels, I imagine.
Yeah, it gives them, I guess, the confidence, and that's what our market's based on, confidence to invest. It gives them the confidence that there is demand for renewables, so they will put money where their mouth is and invest in new solar farms, wind farms. Credited a landfill gas station the other day. So that's where they put some, I don't even know how they do it. They capture the methane coming out of our rubbish tips.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, it's really, really clever. Like that shit's just going to go straight up into the air otherwise.
Yeah.
You just put some pipes in there, they trap the methane, and they burn it. There's energy. Like, I mean, some people might say that's not technically renewable, but show me the day that humans are going to stop throwing shit out. Like, it's renewable as long as we're throwing so much of it out.
Yeah.
The landfill's going to be there, so you might as well capture that. The gas is being excreted. So that's just another example. And Tassie's pretty good. Tassie runs pretty much solely on hydropower. Green power doesn't do much hydro because hydro destroys a lot of biodiversity. Like,
is hydro the power that comes from dams?
That's right. Yeah. Yep. So when you build a dam, you obviously wipe out a whole valley. You put what was land underwater. So we don't really condone that. In my program.
But if you're gonna do it, you might as well get some fucking power from it.
Bingo. Yeah. Like it works. Not a huge fan of what they're doing at the moment. The current federal government and state government idea of creating Snowy Hydro 3 or 2, whatever it's called. So you know how they built the Snowy Hydro system?
No, but
no,
don't let that stop you.
Yeah, no, it's really good part of Australian history. I recommend. There's a Snowy Hydro museum up near Katoomba. If you go that way, up there's a big white building. It'll be on the left hand side if you're driving west, and they got a little bit of a museum. Good history because a lot of the migrants that came from Eastern Europe in the 70s, I guess, worked their asses off to create this hydro system that powers heaps. Well, it did at the time, but it's I guess not heaps as a percentage, but it's a lot of power that comes out of that hydro system. So they capture a lot of water that comes through our mountains to the west of Sydney, southwest Sydney. And they capture the energy from that, which is cool. They call it Snowy Hydro Scheme. Gave a lot of Croatians, Italians, Greeks jobs for a long time. A lot of manual labour. Created a new aspect to Australian culture, bringing all those migrants over. That's pretty cool. And it created renewable energy.
Yeah.
So what
migrants are awesome.
Our grandparents are migrants. Your parents are migrants.
That's true. It's true.
But that new snowy hydro upgrade that they're doing, it's just gonna destroy so much pristine native environment, and the benefits are, in my opinion, not worth the environmental degradation.
Yeah. And what's stopping the government? I mean, apart from corruption, like what's stopping people from just like being like, all right, fuck this, we're just gonna get like a sea of solar panels in the middle of the desert, and like obviously it's the right thing to do. Like what stops that?
Is it the right thing to do, Michael? Why do you say that?
Because then we wouldn't be using so many finite resources which emit gases that are bad for the environment, aka us, and our ability to live on this planet would be reducing that because we have a sea of solar panels.
Where are the solar panels going to come from?
China.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because their standards of ethics and production are
Why
on
don't
point.
we just make solar panels? Like why is
should.
it so difficult?
Because in our country, we actually care about the health and safety and well-being of our labor force, whereas in China, they don't. This is broad generalization, but they don't hold WHS standards in as higher esteem as we do here.
Well, they've got the suicide nets outside the Apple factory. So, like,
Is that a thing?
yeah, that's a thing.
Bullshit.
Yeah. For when
What?
the workers jump out to kill themselves.
Get out.
Yeah,
They have nets.
they have nets. Yeah.
Oh, shiza.
I don't know how many fucking deaths does it take to put in those nets? Like before you're like, come on. I mean, it's only natural. Like it's more efficient to not fucking retrain people how I don't know. Yeah. So that's the thing.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that just proved my generalization.
Yeah. Don't. We love generalizations here.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about that. Yeah, so that's why. Like, they don't pay them anything, and they treat their labor force like shit.
So what are you saying? Like, it would just be too hard to make that many?
Just wouldn't be cost effective.
Why not? Isn't it infinite power after you make it? Like, isn't it infinite savings?
Like, the panels only last like 20, 25 years. And the inverters, which are the important part, the inverters capture and transform the power from AC to DC so that we can use it. I've still got a little bit of my sticker. Thank you. They only last like 10 to 15 years before they need replacing.
Fuck.
So there's a lot of issues around
What the fuck? What do we do then?
recycling panels and how to build them and improving the efficiencies of panels. Like, there's no silver bullet. That's what I'm saying.
Holy shit.
There's no silver bullet.
Okay.
Like, where do you mine what's in panels these days? There's a lot of heavy metals which really are awful for the workers who have to mine that stuff out. Like,
I thought the benefit was you do it once and then it's fucking done. And then it's free energy that isn't harmful after that. I don't know.
you do it once, there's benefit for 25 years,
Yeah.
approximately. And that's a lot of emissions that you haven't had to produce.
Yeah.
Because 25 years is a very long time. And it produces a lot of energy.
Damn.
And so it actually accounts, because like obviously there's a lot of energy to create the panels, for example, but like it accounts for that straight away. Yeah, if you use solar, yeah. Not the first one, obviously.
Yeah, fuck. That's all you need. Just one solar panel, you're good to go.
But like it pays itself back very quickly, like talking a couple months, or not even. But then, yeah, there's no silver bullet.
Fuck.
And also, like, if you cover that much of a space in black panels, like, what about the plant life that would be living under there? Like, it's not going to be able to live because there's these...
What are you doing in the desert?
With high winds.
I'm imagining it's just... true.
High winds, it kicks up dust storm, dust covers the sun.
Is that what you're trying to say? We're fucked. It's over.
It decreases the efficiency of your panels.
What about less people?
Then you put wind farms there. Oh, yeah, it can work too. But what happens when the wind's not blowing? All I'm saying is there's always many sides of a coin, not just two. Definitely not just one.
How do we How do we fight climate change then?
What did they say in Zombieland on Wednesday night when I watched it? Rule 32. Enjoy the little things.
Enjoy the little things.
Enjoy the little things. Don't be a dick, but enjoy the little things.
All right, actually, I have a little thing that I have to say right now.
Please.
With the whole fucking COVID thing, I gotta be honest, like, in the fucking middle of it, my lungs, like, when I go overseas to Cyprus, I can tell that there's cleaner because I can fucking feel it in my breath, essentially. And it was after work, I was like walking to my car and I just realized that I was breathing in a way that I don't normally breathe in. And I realized after I heard your story, because I talked to you previously about the fucking mountain in some place that was now clear because of the lack of pollution.
They could see Mount Everest for the first time from Nepal. Yeah.
That's
Phenomenal.
I mean, for all the thought that it's too late and like climate change is coming no matter what and we're fucked and we fucked up already and there's nothing we can do about it. And this like but these few months of significant reduction of our fucking driving to places and doing this and that and consuming energy, it's had a fucking tangible effect.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like 2 months and the earth is breathing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, it gives you hope, right? Like it's given
absolutely.
me hope for sure. I'm ecstatic. It's like obviously I'm like shattered as I could be for the loss of the people.
Yeah.
Like and the people who've had to deal with seeing friends and family like suffer through this awful virus. Like it's awful. Like it stops you breathing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the worst thing. Like not the worst way to die if you have to die, because we all will have to die. But it's not a nice way to die. No. Not that there is a nice way to die.
We'll see. Maybe. I reckon we can think of something.
Yeah, better than having to. Yeah, it's awful, and I really feel for, I guess, Italy at first. That was just devastating. So many people just hit them. And now everywhere, UK and America.
Yeah.
Like, what a disaster America is right now.
It's going to be interesting to see the numbers like a week or so after these protests, right?
I mean, America and China were sort of at loggerheads before all this. They've been, especially since Trump got in, he's just been such a, what's the word? Let's go with bully.
Okay.
Because he is. He's literally a bully.
Yeah.
And China is no better. They're just awful way to run a country. But it's working for them. But they've just been at loggerheads, and, you know, I'm sure this virus wasn't man-made or released on purpose, but the destruction it's causing America right now could only be making China smile and laugh, because it's tragic. Like over 100,000 people. Like, back to my Thursday night V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
V for Vendetta, I don't know, spoiler alert, close your ears, but like they find out that the government has killed 100,000 people, like, and that's like the government hates us, and it does it to create fear, because fear generally makes people act in a way that it's easier for governments to control. And like, just look at modern history. Like, we're completely oppressed by fear. That's just like the main reason that our governments go to war or tell us there's issues happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's because we're just puppets when like there's fear.
It's an easy way to get people to chime into your way of thinking or your way of explaining an issue.
Yeah, exactly. So like in V for Vendetta, they release this virus and it wipes out people in a school, and then they contaminate a water treatment plant and put it in a subway station, and it kills 100,000, and that's like huge. But that's in a fictional movie where that was the most extreme thing that they could think of.
Yeah.
The death of 100,000 of people. That just happened in the US.
Yeah.
That's happening right now. 100,000 people have died. And if their government had treated the situation seriously from the outset, I'm just guessing here, but maybe half of those people would still be alive right now.
Yeah.
Like, there is blood on Trump's hands.
Yeah.
His own people's blood.
But part of that, I think, is you might even be able to say more people, because I feel like the biggest issue with this thing is that what happened in Spain and Italy was like there were more people that needed help than there were like beds in hospitals with equipment. So now something that is sort of manageable becomes something that has to be completely ignored and just let nature take its course, because we can't fucking help that person. And I think there were some Scandinavian countries where they weren't really implementing a lot of shit, like a lot of rules and regulations, and I think the thinking there was like, it's fine, we have enough facilities compared to population.
Yeah, that was Sweden.
Yeah. So...
But if you looked at the deaths, so Sweden is in the middle of Finland, Norway and Denmark.
Yeah.
Finland, Norway and Denmark all locked down hard.
Yeah.
Like, super hard, super fast. Totally oppressing their people.
Yeah.
Like, that, it's not a good thing. They forced their people to lock down.
Yeah.
Sweden is geographically in the center of that, didn't.
Yeah.
And Sweden's deaths per capita is like, I don't want to say a statistic because I don't have it in front of me, but hugely higher proportion of their population died.
Gotcha.
And the other three countries opened their borders within, month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah.
Because they kept everything under control.
Gotcha.
And it was a human experiment.
Fuck yeah.
And the countries who went the wrong way now, because it's quite clear which was the right way to do it, they've suffered huge casualties. Like Brazil. Brazil is... Man, what a nightmare. I feel for the people in Brazil. And you want to say, well, serves you right for voting in that awful person in charge. But you can't say serves you right, because the people that voted him aren't the ones dying. They didn't...
I think right now we're seeing a lot of negatives to this, and like, don't get me wrong, it's a bad thing, but the best you can do, like with a bad situation, is make the best of it, and maybe give it, I don't know, just give it some time, let this thing blow over, and I feel like we're gonna trace back a lot of good things as well that have come out of this, like a lot of people changing their way of thinking, a lot of, or at least some change, I hope. Like, yeah.
One thing about humans, Michael, is we forget things so quickly. We have such short memories. Like, we repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Like, World War I happened, and they called it the Great War, and it would never happen again. And like 30 years later, they've got the same thing, except worse.
Yeah.
And we just do the same stupid things over and over and over again. So I don't think we'll learn from our mistakes. But I think there will be a lot of positive outcomes that will survive the test of time after this. Like, work-life balance, at least for the next couple of years, is going to improve. People are going to realize, now that they've been forced to stay home with their families, they're appreciating their families a lot more. People who, hadn't cared as much about their parents or their grandparents or their partners even, been forced to spend time with them, or those who can't access them because of the lockdown, suddenly calling them a lot more and checking if they're okay. And it's beautiful that it's brought people together. I think it's fantastic. But, and working from home means the whole issue that we had on our public transport system will hopefully be eased. Because that was overcapacity with no no way of changing that in sight. Like there was no solution. And now we've just got one.
Yeah.
Which is good for us here in Sydney. I'm talking in a local context because that's what I know, obviously. So yeah, there's heaps of positives, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like we've been really fortunate here.
So fortunate.
So I'm not gonna try and comment on like the negative things happening on the other side of the world. But I have, like, as far as how this has affected me and like what I've taken from this and like everything that this has brought to me, like I can only be grateful, to be honest. And I can only see like positive things, but that's just from this like point of privilege, to be honest, and like I'm very lucky to be able to say that.
Yeah. We are lucky. And I thank my grandparents for coming here and working their asses off. Sacrificing probably some joys so that
100%.
their children and then their children's children, aka me, can have a better life.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly, man. Like, fuck.
Last sip of mastica is to them.
Nice.
And then you think about a lot of people trying to migrate to other countries now because they don't see any hope in their current countries because of the way systems are run.
Yeah.
And the numbers are just insane. I don't want to get into the refugee debate.
I think Canada has recently,
nuts.
Or like there's talks of Canada opening fucking borders to American refugees, essentially. Like,
wow.
Yeah, like taking in refugees from America, like Americans. Yeah.
Wow. There's so much wrong with that country. But they've also got some absolutely fantastic people.
Absolutely.
Really switched on.
Man, it's like, I think like I've met some Americans from America, but I've also met some Australians that have like spent extensive time in America, and there's like something about them. Like I always used to think like Americans were like the stereotypical arrogant, like annoying people, but there's something sort of magical, and I don't know. Like I find them very. There's stuff that they say and do that like if someone here did them, you'd be like, man, look at that person fucking trying to be special and different. Fuck them. Like there's something, I don't know, there's something about us. It's like we see someone's like we see the fucking nail sticking out and we just like want to fucking hammer it in.
Yeah.
But there's something about Americans. It's like the nail sticking out and it's like good on you. Like that's the attitude that I have seen firsthand.
That's interesting. 'Cause, I mean, that we have tall poppy syndrome here, where one poppy grows taller than the other. We tend to chop it down.
Yeah.
As Americans are all about, yeah, man, do better.
Yeah.
And they wonder why they've got some of the worst rates of poverty in the Western world.
I mean, I guess I've only met the people privileged enough to fucking travel, so that's a fucking point that I come from, I guess. Yeah.
Well, like climate change, there's no right and wrong way. Like, there's no silver bullet to fixing the world's problems, and we're not going to do it sitting here, but we can definitely discuss it because I think open conversation leads to ideas, and ideas are important.
Yeah. Action as well after having those ideas.
Yeah. Like when I went up to that guy and asked if I could, volunteer at his organization.
Yeah.
And he said yes. And then I learned that he was like one of the super high up directors. And like I barely got to speak to him after I moved because he was like 5 levels higher than me. But he was so nice. And I always thank him for giving me the opportunity that he did. Yeah, I'll try some. Well, I'm really enjoying the mastica.
No, I got to give you some Jesus blood as well.
Jesus blood, all right. It's not Sunday. Did you hear the priest from Kogarah Church? Here's a tangent. He got he's shafted to Wollongong, and he gave his like I'm leaving speech online because people aren't allowed to go to church.
Yeah.
My mum watched it.
Yeah.
She said he was in tears.
Are you kidding?
And it set her off.
Damn.
She was like in tears. Like, it's because he was super tight with the old archbishop who recently passed away.
Gotcha.
And a new archbishop's come in from Greece. And I guess been like, well, you were good friends with the other guy. I'm just going to push you to the side.
Dude,
it's all power plays, man. I didn't realize, well, of course I realized that the church is political, but...
Dude, I gotta be honest, there's like another thing that like made me want to do this podcast. Like there's like a whole like string of things, but like one of them was like I just wanted to like see my mum one night, and she was like, I'm going to this church thing, so like you can come to that, or like too bad. So like I went, and it was like the priest and like 5 guys, like 5 people, and I'm seeing this guy that's like he's not a priest, he's just a guy with a job. And there's these people that are like hanging out with him, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is demystified everything for me. Like, you know, I'm like thinking this guy's like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and like now all of a sudden he's just like fucking Joey Average with like a normal job like us that's like just wants to go home to his wife and kids and like sort of be left alone as well to do their own thing, and he's here doing part of his job and after hours, you know, like working overtime. Yeah. It was like this real like, I don't know, yeah, it's like.
He's a nice guy. Like, I met him. He doesn't have a wife or kids, which is why...
It was a different one. Different one. It would have been a different one. But, wait, which one? The one that was from Cogra?
The Cogra guy.
Yeah, no, he's really cool as well.
Yeah. I think because he doesn't have a wife or kids, he's allowed to be archbishop. Like, they've got some stupid rules.
Gotcha.
Some old... Yeah. Which is why the other guy probably saw him as a threat and just kicked him out.
What a weird...
Because Cogra's got the biggest congregation in Australia.
You're joking. What the fuck?
Well, because Melbourne, although it's got more Greeks, would have more churches.
But so that's like right down the road. Like, what the hell? Like, that's weird. You say like, oh, this is the biggest thing ever. Like, or like
only in Australia.
In the country. Like, what? But it's just down the road. Like, it's not going to be anywhere else in the fucking country. It's down the road.
Yeah, like walking distance from here.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you've seen it at Easter.
Yeah, but I'm like, all right, I guess every church is like this at Easter. Because, like, I'm here to see this, and I'm just assuming...
Bankstown and Belmore are also pretty packed, but Cogra's, it's got the biggest by far. It's massive. Which is why when you're the head of the Cogra parish, you've got some serious influence and power. Yeah. The guy was awesome. He was one of like super cool. Always judging.
I mean...
Haven't seen you at church.
You're
like,
I never know what to say in that situation. Like... It's gotten easier with my family because I'm just like, I don't like drinking. I don't like going to church. I don't. It's weird when the priest calls you out though. But at the same time, it's like, if this guy was like a Jedi Knight, he wouldn't be calling me out like this. He's just average, you know, Joey Average here.
Yeah.
What's another thing?
While you're thinking on that one, I was going to say, there's a great little, I don't know what they call them, but in Barcelona, I don't know if you've been to Barcelona. Have you?
No.
Madrid. In Barcelona, they have these little models, like little statues, and it's of just people, but now they've started doing them with celebrities, and the celebrities are crouching down, they've got their pants down, and they're taking a shit.
Yeah.
And the purpose is everyone needs to do a shit.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Like, I bought a little Barack Obama one, because when I was there, he was president of the US, so one of the most powerful figures in the world that we know of, you know, like not talking about the faceless men behind large-scale corporations, but anyway. And there he is taking a shit, and you're just like, there is no Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know.
Absolutely.
We're all just here to do a job.
Yeah.
So as a priest.
Oh, I think the reason what made me be like, oh my god, that guy, like that priest was. I remember one of the reasons that I fucking hated going to church was like all the old lady. Like, it's like, alright, we're all calm in church, and we're like, you know, we're all like praising Jesus, and we're all thinking about like good virtues and all that. And then like as soon as like church is about to finish, like everyone's like pushing each other to get the fuck out of there. It's like, alright, like what's the fucking point if this is how you're gonna act? And I remember he would always call people out for like being that way.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like this,
Yeah.
you know, like because I don't really want to be here, and it's just like hypocrisy of like, oh my god, I'm gonna go to church and like, but like really you're like, it's almost like a social, like, you know, it's like I do Pilates and it's like, well, I do go to church. It's like, I don't know, I don't really think that's how, like my imagination of the ideal church is not like that.
I mean, I think they're fantastic institutions in the sense that they bring a sense of community for those that need it.
Definitely for us, like definitely for Greeks, like that have immigrated. That's how I see church here. It's like these people that came from like a place, from like overseas, they came to this place and like they found like a little community, whereas they didn't come here with anyone. They came here by themselves. Like imagine if we went to fucking, I don't know, like Africa, and there's like a little club for like Australians. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
And that's how I see. That's how I see like Greek Orthodox churches in Australia.
Yeah. Which is exactly what happened to me when I went to Dubbo. I was looking for a sense of community. Like, where am I going to find some friends to talk to? And I was super fortunate. But again, I was proactive. I went to I went to the church and they accepted me like I was one of them, and it was beautiful. Like there were young families that went there as well for a sense of community, and they allowed me to fit in, and it was really, really, really touching. And the other sense of community I had was with my housemates. I was really fortunate to have wonderful housemates and landlady, and I went out to the Dubbo Young Professionals Society meeting, and I made some fantastic friends there as well. So I found a sense of community in 3 places, which is really, really lovely. I'm fortunate for that. So I think churches are good for that, definitely. And like my fiance is not Greek or Greek Orthodox, so we've been going to her church a little bit to meet the priest who will marry us. And they've got a really cool sense of community. So they're Anglican. So they're all Aussies. They really welcome everyone who comes in. And there are some people who are like well off there, you know, that they're doing well. It's the one that we're going to is in the inner west. So most people are like kind of, I don't know, inner westy, like hipster. But then you got like people who clearly don't have a lot of money, like some near homeless looking people, and they're just people of all shapes and sizes and sorts are just welcome into this space where it's a safe space for them, and they feel part of a community, and I think that's really important. And of course, every time you have a community, that then creates animosity because there would be another community somewhere else. And, you know, humans tend to see the differences as well. My community's better than your community. So there's no silver bullet with that one. But it is, I think it's nice to be part of a community. As long as it's doing the right thing for you and not some cult.
As long as it's not rapists or us.
Oh, dear. Is that the first time you've said rapists on this podcast?
I think yes, but only because this is like the 5th episode, and not because like I don't say rapist often. And also like I listen to like a comedy routine, like involving Bill Cosby lately, so maybe it's in my head.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Can I ask who the other 4 people that have been on this podcast are?
It's been Loda and our roommate Diego. Like we haven't, you know, like
cool.
The whole concept is that like every now and then we're gonna like, I wanted to get other people on the podcast, but I was also like, hey, you know, if I don't take a shit, like if I don't treat this podcast as taking a shit, then like I'm never gonna fucking do it, because like how do I have the perfect fucking podcast? How do I get the sound right on the first time? How do I get the mix right on the first time? How do I get the fucking mic's position right on the first time? How do I be a good host on the first time? I don't. So I was like, fuck it. Like we're all stuck inside. Let's just do a podcast. It's not really the format that I was thinking, but let's just do it. Like with that said, I also interviewed like Diego, like I'm not interviewing, but like I did like a solo podcast with us, like on bartending and like now,
Cool.
yeah. So
Cool.
do you know what I mean? Like it's they've been a bit more casual because we're just hanging out and like they each have their main profession that has already been discussed and you know I can't discuss it again after like a week. Like what are you gonna add that's new? So it's just been like a bit casual.
But I mean, I'm sure you'll watch it evolve.
Oh, exactly. That's why I was just like, fuck it, let's just do it. And as I get towards the format that I originally thought of, I'll also not be shit at it anymore. So, yeah.
Like, I mean, I started listening to Critical Role from episode 1, season 1. And like, I was going, this is amazing, you know, and I was telling other people to start listening to it. Critical Role is a Dungeons and Dragons podcast, by the way. And other people were like, oh, I can't, the audio quality is so terrible. Like, I just can't listen to it. I'm like, they just started this thing, you know? And I didn't notice it because I had no preconception of what it would sound like when I started. And so as they evolved and got way, way better at the whole production, like they're the pinnacle now of podcasts. Well, I mean, it's not a podcast, it's a video one. I just generally listen to it on podcasts because it's easier. They've evolved so much, and now I can look back and go, yeah, I listened to them I wasn't listening at the time when they first started, but I listened from episode 1 and I could see them get better and evolve, and that's how you got to do it. I struggle with your taking a shit analogy, but I can see where it comes from. You take a shit and then watch it grow legs and escape from the bowl, and
the analogy being that like you gotta do it every day. Like you can't treat it like you can't put it on the pedestal. It's just shit you gotta take,
what you mean.
like that's it.
Yeah,
it's over. You're gonna take another one soon. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I get it now. That's good.
I learned that like yesterday on YouTube.
Really? Nice. I mean, is there anything more about climate change that you'd like to get out of me, or should we just talk?
Okay, so let's say
shit. I like talking shit.
I think the one thing that I probably will like to ask is like if there's like a 14-year-old out there that's like got it in their head that they want to fucking save the environment, like from your position of experience, having gone through study and jobs and looking for positions and looking on how to make an impact, you've like planted trees every Sunday for like ages. So like what are the, as a 14-year-old, you've got like, if you know what you want to do and you know that you want to do this, like what's some head start giving advice that you have?
Cool. Yeah. Sure. You mentioned my volunteering, and I think that's a really, really good place to start. Because as humans, everything we do is based on experience. It has to be. And the way you gain experience is by doing other things. And those other things stem from that experience. So it's like a slow learning curve where you build upon experiences with other experiences. And volunteering is a really easy-ish opportunity to gain experience. So the one that you mentioned was volunteered at a local bush care run by a local council. So I go and weed mainly, just get on my hands and knees and pull plants out. And that was really driven by one guy who worked at the council, and I'm not sure where he is anymore. And we haven't actually done the bush care for about 9 months now. And I can't get in contact with him or work out what happened. So that's really, really devastating. It's sort of fallen to bits. Which again shows you sometimes institutions and structures rely on the personalities who are in those positions to drive things forward. It's an important lesson. You always think, oh yeah, we build these systems for them to work for us, and then you get someone into a position with their own experiences and abilities and passions, and they can change a role and expand it, and always look at what you can like build upon when you're in a role. So, like, I'd say look for volunteer positions and then use those positions to show what you're made of, show what your skills are, and learn. Just like something that I enjoy doing is listening to people and just learning from them. It's all well and good to talk, and there are a lot of talkers in this world. A lot of talkers. And here I am talking myself, but it's only because Michael's asked me to be here and talk. I much prefer listening, and you can learn a lot from listening. Like, go online, look up. Government's always a good spot to start because there are volunteer positions, but like NGOs, non-for-profit organizations, charities, there's so many opportunities out there. And like what I did with that initial one was I went up to that guy in that forum and I asked the state water guy if I could volunteer my time, and instead of volunteering they paid me, which is great. Got a graduate wage out of that, and I was out there for a little while. But just do something. When in my bush care, there was a year 11 guy who came down from a selective school similar to mine, and he was just proactive in that he wanted to do something for the community. He wanted to act local, and he started coming down, and like I reckon that guy's gonna go places. Like he's taken the initiative, and he showed the patience and diligence to sit and learn from the others about which plants to pull out and which ones not to pull out. And it's something little, something simple. Don't think much of it, but what it really shows is a lot of other like important skills. And then you got to do the shitty thing about communicating those skills in a stupid resume, showing what you're made of. And that's the hardest thing. And in general, you don't get jobs from your resume. It's really hard. Yeah. You generally need to get them from knowing people in the world. As I said, with my latest job, I didn't know the person at all, but I'd heard of him and I'd interacted with him once or twice before, and that perhaps gave me the edge. Also, I knew the stuff. Like I had the experience behind me, and like that's what got me the job. But it helped that I was familiar with the people involved, and so expand your networks. Yeah, that would be it. I feel like I want to talk in my deep voice for a little bit. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Will I break the mic?
No.
Maybe I should say...
Sure, and come closer. I'll pull the mic to you if you want.
Oh, it's okay. Then it'll be louder. I've been speaking from this distance the whole time.
This is what they want.
No, because then it'll force people to turn their volumes down. Like at this point, if they've been hearing me clearly, or if I was really quiet, they would have turned their volume up the whole time.
Maybe I'll put the mix up though, so that...
Well, like at this exact point.
No, always. I'll put the whole thing up. Because like I've just been looking at your levels, like, and you're not hitting anywhere near the peak. You feel like you haven't been anywhere near. So,
have you? Am I speaking at a similar level to you?
No, I'm not. I think I'm gonna come out a bit clearer just because I'm closer to it. But
okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit late now.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's do the whole podcast again.
This is how we learn.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be part of this.
I should have what should have happened is I should have said, "Hey, Kostan, like you can adjust the mic and blah 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 blah." Instead, I was like, "His headphones, just listen to them." Like,
well, anyway. I mean, I could hear myself really clearly.
I like that.
So I was like, if I can hear myself clearly through these microphones, maybe other people can hear me really clearly through the microphones.
That's not as weird as you thought it was going to be, is it?
What, my deep voice?
Yeah, like hearing yourself.
No, because as you said, like you can hear yourself anyway when you're talking.
Exactly, and it's not like when you hear yourself talking and you're not talking at the exact same time. That's a good thing about this, because the headset is blocking your voice, like traveling to your ears, but the headset is also giving you that as well. So it's not like it's almost like you would hear yourself naturally. It's not like when you're hearing yourself without hearing the vibrations from your mouth move up through your skull into your ear. Yeah. So you're getting both aspects of the sound, and it's not weird. I thought it'd be fucking weird initially, but no.
Yeah, there's no lag time or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. How does my deep voice sound?
Tremendous. So this is actually, I think we should do the Sexcapades podcast now. I think the fucking voice is doing it for me.
Oh yeah, you dirty dog, you. Oh yeah. So, should we call someone up like a sex hotline?
Should we? Who should we call?
Was that prostitute with the wig that I burned?
She doesn't have the wig anymore. Well, Steve burned it.
She or he or?
It's a he. I mean a she.
It's a she.
Yeah.
Why did she need a wig?
Because you always gotta be like someone else when you're a stripper or a prostitute. I think I said stripper. Did I say stripper? I feel like I said stripper, and that's why you have the wig, because
Hooker?
You're always...
Maybe a hooker.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if hookers have like fake names, but like strippers have fake names.
Candy.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a real name.
Candy with a blonde wig.
Yeah. Or a purple wig. I think that's more of a... Ooh. If you're going to get a wig, go something...
That would get Alex all excited.
Yeah. We'll have Alex on here as well. So.
Oh, far out. Oh, that would be something. Just get him super drunk.
Well, yeah. I mean, I tried to get you a bit drunk. Did you taste Jesus in the wine?
Oh, man. I'm like seriously tasting Jesus.
Yeah.
I feel like I've definitely loosened up.
Yeah.
But I've also been conscious that I will have to drive at some point.
Yeah. Of course. Right. Do you think we should wrap it up there?
I'm happy to wrap it up.
All right,
Got a little bit of Jesus wine left. I'm going to polish that off. I'll end on my normal voice, I guess.
Tremendous. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks for coming and just fucking being like, yeah, okay, when I say crazy shit, I guess. So,
I've known you for that long. Come on.
I like it.
It's been good.
Thanks for coming on. And
hang on. Before.
Yeah.
Sorry. Did you learn anything about me that was surprising or that you didn't know already? I want to ask that. Did you learn anything about me?
Today?
Yeah, just now.
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. What was the most interesting thing that I said that you think? What's your takeaway from this?
All right. I mean, okay, I guess my takeaway from this is, like, I was there when we'd be like, hey, cousin, come do dumb shit with us and hang out and waste time. And you would be like, no, I have to do this. I have to do postgrad studies. I have to go to this talk on fucking the environment. And we'd fucking be like, go fuck yourself, cousin. We just want to drink and like hang out. And you were like fucking 10 steps ahead of us, like doing stuff. And I think that's the point. Like, it's not obvious when you're like, oh, it's not obvious like building a house, like I want to build this house, so I'm going to go get some bricks and I'm going to put the fucking bricks together and I'm going to have a house at the end of it. It's like you wanted to go on a certain path and, let's say that like fucking 80% of those talks that you went to were like worthless in the sense of getting a job, but by going to them, you fucking develop this mindset of like, this is what I have to do. And once you have that mindset, you're not, all right, let's say that you just went to the like one fucking talk and like you met that guy at that one talk. Like, were you gonna fucking get that job if you said everything, the exact same scenario, but you'd never been in that position before? Would you have gotten that job that time?
That's a really good hypothetical.
Yeah, fuck no. So
yeah.
So what I've taken away from this is that, like, if you want to do something, and same with that year 11 kid, if you want to do something, you just fucking put yourself in the environment and you just do it. Sort of like taking your shit, you just fucking do, it's part of your daily thing, it's just part of your fucking life, and you just keep doing it, and eventually it gets you somewhere. And also we're sort of fucked from the environment. I thought we could use solar power and that would be it. It would be all good, but no, apparently it's fucking more difficult than that, and we're all fucked.
We're not fucked. Yeah. We're definitely not fucked.
Okay, Kostan.
That's a really good wrap up. Yeah. Experiences build upon experiences, and although we're kind of fucked, although I didn't explain it, we aren't fucked because, like, there are a lot of people doing a lot of amazing things right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as COVID showed us, there is hope.
Exactly. Going back to what we did discuss, it's not as dramatic, but I just wanted to be a little dramatic. I mean, I thought fucking solar power was like the answer to everything, but apparently not.
Yeah.
That's what I know.
Good wrap up.
Thanks. Yes. Thanks, Austin.
Yeah. Thank you. I love you too.
All right. That's it. We're out.